Now, to start off this evening, Arthur was just saying to me, just quickly, quietly, he said, really, we had no idea back then what we'd started. And, that's quite true, obviously, from starting something off so new and so fresh and getting into what has become one of the world's most iconic motoring brands. So what we're going to do is just quickly cover over, not only we know how they started but also where they started, and a few little bits and pieces we've found out about the Land Rover, which we didn't really know before. So we know just down the road here from the Chesford Grange that Blackdown Manor is there where Maurice Wilkes lived, and beside Maurice Wilkes' place, Colonel Nash's house, where the Jeep and the Bren gun carrier were famously swapped, and as I say, the rest is history. And you can see here on the plans, there's a map there of the area in the mid-1950s, and a nice aerial photograph now. And we're literally just on the edge over here, and we'll be able to go and drive down that road tomorrow and have a look and see where it all started. There's the Jeep, and there's the Bren gun carrier of Maurice Wilkes and Colonel Nash. And if you're driving down there, that's the house today, Blackdown Manor. And now we move on to the Solihull area and where the Rover and Land Rover factory are. So got a map here once again of 1953, and the factory is just in there where the red dot is, and an aerial photograph of the factory today. Again, that's the factory just as it was finished being built, and some plans that we were able to get, and it shows the main entrance there. You can see the experimental department and all the areas where essentially the Land Rover grew from as a project. And the other day we were very lucky to have the opportunity to go and visit the factory with Arthur once again, and you can see here the 50,000th Land Rover, and there's Arthur standing there proudly alongside the vehicle coming off the production line. And Arthur last week, they're looking at a chassis, and that part of the factory hasn't changed really terribly much. They're still turning out a hell of a lot of Land Rovers, and a very impressive operation indeed. And here outside the famous rotating doors, Spencer Wilkes there with a vehicle going to President Perón of Argentina, and Arthur and Alan Volkert outside the revolving doors last week with a pre-production vehicle there to show that, once again, not much has changed in the Land Rover, and especially if you go and see one of the Defenders, you can clearly see the similarities we all know and love. And where it all started with the Centre for Seer vehicle late in September 1947. But there was other things and parts of the story around the factory which all came into play. One of the things we've known, we've seen all the photos of the vehicles ploughing, farming, doing this, going up hills, down dales. So where were all these places, and where were the photos taken? Well, Billsmore Wood, which is just along the side of the motorworks there, is where many of these photos were taken. And if you go to the factory today and go to Land Rover Experience, you can see it all there. So, just to point it out, there's the centre steer vehicle doing some ploughing, and there's the woods there in the background, and some of Arthur's workmates. The next part alongside the factory is Ford Row Farm. And part of the farm is now a sports field, and also the rest of the farm is sort of embedded into in quite an interesting way, into the property development that was done by Rover in the 1960s. So there's Johnny Cullen in the centre steer with parts of the farm in the background. Another photo we know of the centre steer vehicle at the farm. But the thing is, we know those photos were taken all around late October, November 1947, but what were the engineers really doing? Now we've got here a photograph, a line drawing of the Series 1 Land Rover rear axle, and if you look very closely at the date down in the bottom, it was signed off on the 14th of November 1947. So indicating that even though they were playing with photos and centre steers and all kinds of things, the real work was going on in the works for the actual real vehicle that is the Land Rover we know today. And here's another great drawing which I really love, the outer front wing panel. And if you look again at the date, it's the 2nd of December 1947, showing that they were really quite far advanced by the end of 1947 with the design of the 80-inch vehicle. So despite what we've sort of seen and sort of thought, what were they doing? They had this vehicle, where were they going? They really were pretty well down the track by Christmas with the basic design. Now back to the farm. There's, you can see one of the streets around the housing estate. His name's Ford Rove Lane, and this building here is a pub called the Golden Acres, and it's basically exactly where the farm buildings were, and it was named the Golden Acres to represent Rover's golden opportunity in buying that land and being able to sell it and develop it. And there's a Land Rover Experience website. If you want to go and see that, you can go and see Billsmore Wood and that today. Now, one of the other areas which we looked at briefly was a little Ford in Packington, which you'll know the photo of from the old days quite well. This one in the early sales brochure there. The Ford is there today, quite deep, but still basically in the same location as it was. And once again, there's Arthur and Johnny Cullen in Huey at the Ford, driving through there, and there it is today as we see it. Now, many of these pictures and stuff were taken once, you know, the vehicles were out and they were running and they were going along about March and April 48. So if December, November 47, they were with rear axles and bodies and everything, but still photographing centre steers, how far down the track were they with the real plans when they were playing with the pre-pros? Well, here we've got a drawing, and it's of the recognisable bit of the 8-inch there. But if you look closely, you can see a note added on 28th of April 1948, and the note says, "This piece may not be required when one-piece dash is introduced," showing that at that stage they had already been planning introducing a pressed bulkhead, and that which came down the track in December 1948. So even before the vehicle had gone to Amsterdam, they were still planning the mass production scale of the vehicle. So certainly, yeah, as Arthur said, he didn't know what he was getting into, but they were a fair way down the track once the vehicle was, even before going to Amsterdam, but still in the full prototype stage. And here's one of these beautiful line drawings, once again of the production chassis on the around late April 48, showing most of the production features, just showing that, you know, how far and how developed the vehicle was by the stage it was going into the show and being presented to the world. A couple of other areas around the place where they tested and took photographs. This particular one's quite interesting because Berry Hall Farm is where Mike Rivets' vehicle number 14 lived for many years. And the local farmer obviously had some kind of association. We haven't worked out with Rover yet, but the vehicle was used obviously for testing and development in some kind of way there. Another little Ford over the River Blythe, just down from Roadshaw. Henwood Lane, nice little laneway we can visit. And then famously to Myra. Now this is where the Belgian Pave was built. And unfortunately, we couldn't take a photo of the Belgian Pave with Arthur when we visited there yesterday. But Graham and his crew caught the footage of Arthur talking about the Pave and looking at the Pave and driving around the bank track and everything. It was a great fun. But that's overall to just give you a brief introduction about what we've been looking at, what we've found out about the vehicle, about Arthur's work, how they did it, where they did it, and I hope tomorrow, once we go on the drive and have the opportunity to look at a few more of those places, we'll be able to see it in real life and live the experience as well as get to, you know, having known about it and read it.